welcome.
Welcome. So today we are in 4th grade, Unit 6, Contemporary Fiction, and we're going to be chatting about Lesson 11, Personal Narrative Writing, and Esperanza's character growth in the house on Mango Street.
And hopefully you've been enjoying this unit. Remember, this is just a brief synopsis of the lessons. We are nearly done. These are the last two lessons of this unit. And we hope this was helpful, especially to our skills specialists, principals, APs, and our special education teachers.
Mhm. All right. So a lot of
Ooh,
text
I said,
for
ooh.
a lot of text for Lesson 11. Uh, Vignette 8, a house is my own. Vignette 9, Mango says goodbye sometime. So the students are really wrapping up the house on Mango Street. They'll return to Vignette 1, the house on Mango Street. Vignette 4, our good day. Vignette 5, those who don't. And Vignette 6, Gil's furniture bought and sold. And students are returning texts in some cases, looking at the parallels in them and the ways in which the ideas circle back to each other.
And that's where that circle comes in place, right? It all connects, the circle of life. I mean, think of it that way.
Lion
So,
King.
yes, this lesson starts off with the writing. And the cub is the students will know what their central character thinks about his or her aspirations before meeting a new character. The student will understand how and why the central character's aspirations change after meeting the new character, and they will be able to write a chapter of their story featuring a new character. And so when your cubs are really written well, you should be able to really connect it to your lesson or reference it throughout the lesson. And in this lesson, it should be very evident. The learning objective clearly states what the teacher's doing, what the student's doing. So there are two components. This lesson is a total of 20 minutes only. First, students, just like the Cub said, they're going to add a new chapter to their stories that they had to the stories they've been creating all along throughout this unit. And so what exactly they're doing, the teacher is going to hand back their notebooks as usual. There's feedback provided from the last writing from the previous day. Students are going to view that. And now the teacher, you should hear explain like, okay, now for today's writing, we're going to pick a new character. Okay, this character should make the central character consider their aspirations. So clearly stated that this new character that they need to develop in their writing is going to change or make the main character consider their aspirations. And the example given was like in the Three Sisters from Vignette 7. And then allow quiet time for writing, and then allow those students to write. As they're writing, of course, the teacher is going to walk around one-on-one, conference with those students. And there's an assessment. Of course, there's some brainstorming. So in the activity page 10.3, the students are going to list the characters' names from lesson 5, and then they are going to create this new character. So it's a chart. Then they're going to write that new character's name in the chart and do some thinking about that character and how they're going to be changing the views of these aspirations. So things to think about: where the new character met the character in their story, what they look like, what they sound like, how are they dressed, what they say to the characters, how the character responds, and there are other guiding questions to help them form their details for their new addition to new chapter. There is a check for understanding as students are working. The teacher should be circulating and ensuring students are working on their story. So just making sure they're on the right track, using those guiding questions to help them as they're forming their new character. And then after that, 5 minutes should be left for on the sharing of the stories. And basically, it's exactly what it says. Students are going to share with a partner their stories. And the students do have some response questions as they are listening to the stories. Just making sure that the character has made some change in the aspiration. So hopefully students are listening to see how did this character impact the main character. And then tomorrow they'll write a new chapter. And that completes reading for the day. Um, Here, of course, is where they're going to write their next chapter, 10 point, the second, they're writing with the blank lines. And then this is the chart I was speaking of earlier. You have your new character, what they look like, what they sound like. And then you have the main characters in the first box.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
On to reading.
Let's talk about reading. All right, for our cup for reading, we have the students will know how Esperanza changes throughout the book. They'll understand that often in great stories, characters grow, change, and learn, and they'll be able to cite evidence about Esperanza's growth in interactions with other characters using the writer's journal. So 3 components, subcomponents for the reading component. The first is a close reading, or is a whole group for 20 minutes. And in this subcomponent, the teacher is leading a close read of the final vignettes 8 and 9. The teacher is going to read vignette 8, A House of My Own, aloud, and students will read vignette 9, Mango Says Goodbye Sometimes, silently. There's a check for understanding, where the teacher is going to ask students to think about the image they discussed in the previous lesson, which was the circle, and give them 30 seconds to draw it on a blank page and hold it up. After that, the teacher is going to be asking some evaluative and inferential questions. And the point of those questions is to really help students see the repetition or the parallel structure in these vignettes in the house on Mango Street. They'll be talking about repeated text and the idea of a circle, or really the symbolism of a circle, and making the connections between those vignettes. Next, they'll move on to in-depth character exploration, independently partner whole group for 30 minutes. You'll see the teacher explaining to students that they will discuss how Esperanza changes through the book by comparing the new vignettes to the earlier vignettes. They're going to look deeply at Esperanza's character, because often in great books or movies, plays, and TV shows, characters grow, change, and learn. From there, the teacher is going to refer students to Writer's Journal, page 11.1, which hopefully I have here. Bam, there it is. And review the directions, which are basically look again at the first vignette you read and answer the following questions. Students are going to work individually to complete the questions about each vignette. The teacher will explain that they can refer back to the vignettes, which they should be doing for their text evidence. After each vignette, the teacher will stop for a class discussion about the questions. As answers emerge in class discussion, students will make notes in their journal. So basically, if anything arises in the discussion that they don't have in their writer's journal, they're going to jot that down. You'll see the teacher supporting students by going through the first set of questions together and allowing students to work with a partner for vignette 2. They'll also be guiding students to the appropriate vignette for each set of questions and providing support and guidance in finding text evidence. And that brings us to the next subcomponent, which is Esperanzas Empathy, whole group or independently for 20 minutes. So in this subcomponent, the teacher will introduce the word empathy by writing it on the board or chart paper. They'll ask students if they know what empathy means and make sure that they know the definition. There's a check for understanding, which is a poll where students will agree or disagree with the statement that Esperanza's empathy grows throughout the book. A few students will be called on to defend their position with evidence. Then the teacher will explain that as a class, they will look at Esperanza's interactions with others and how these interactions change her. So the teacher is going to draw or project the table from Writer's Journal 11.2 on the board. Make sure I have that. There we go. So this table on the board, and they will fill it in with the class via discussion, or as a challenge, if they could have students complete it individually before they discuss it whole group. So on this chart, they're writing about the different vignettes. In each vignette, what are the major interactions that Esperanza have, as well as how those interactions change her. After they complete the table, students will discuss the evaluative questions in pairs. And the teacher is going to facilitate a whole group discussion using the evaluative questions in the curriculum. They'll conclude by reviewing the major themes they looked at as they read the book and explored Esperanza's character in depth. The teacher will record them on the board and then congratulate students on the development of close reading techniques, which they did a lot of in this unit. Really
And I
strong
was
close readers.
they should be in like that character analysis that they're doing, how characters change,
Mm-hmm.
the relationships with others. So hopefully they're able to answer those questions and pick out those ideas and things
Yes,
based
really,
off
I
all the
think it's a
information.
great activity.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. And yep, that wraps up lesson 11.
So
All
we want to
right.
thank you for joining us, and we hope you found this beneficial.
Yep. See you on the next video.
Bye bye.